Okay, and we are live. I haven't talked about dating in a long time, obviously, because I am pathologically going through my struggle with my love for chess right now. And I've also kind of put philosophy on hold. I've put a lot of things on hold. A lot of things on hold right now. And honestly, I think you guys, as you watch me, I'm just a chaotic person. I don't know how to. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, uh, I'm just chaotic. Okay, just chaotic. But um, so this is this is how I want to break down this video. Right. It's called feelings versus categories. This is a personal story because. Uh, I've actually encountered this a lot in my life where there's this basically it's a space that can't really be categorized, you know, and well, actually, it could, uh, but it's a very it's a very looked down upon kind of space. Uh, but I don't know. It's weird, right? It's weird. Um, and I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna give you guys try to break this down for you. So it always begins with a girl, right? Okay, so she probably I don't know. She might end up watching this if I post it on my Instagram. I don't know. Anyways, the personal story is this, right? There's this girl that I was talking to for I don't think not too long. But anyways, you know, feelings happened, right? Feelings happened. Uh she she wasn't, let's put it this way, she wasn't in the space for something, uh but as also at the same time, it's a very weird thing, right? Personally, from my perspective, I could see the conflicts of her wanting to get to know me and be around me, uh but at the same time she was still struggling with her feelings for her ex, and these decisions of whether she should go back or not. And then also at the same time, there's the conflict of like I'm here, I'm in this space. So there's a conflict of just like, oh, there's this new person, and I'm trying to see like where I want to go with this exactly. So okay, let's put it this way. She to play it safe, she basically um, she basically wanted to stay friends, right? And if and but see the problem with the friend thing, right? Typically, I don't know, it's weird, right? Like w- philosophically, the idea of friend zoned, right? Is this part, right? Is this part where a person puts another person in a category, right? As friends, knowing their feelings for as such, right? Either knowingly or unknowingly. I think the unknowingly uh, is where, men really, make fun of each other for that. Uh, is where, the woman unknowingly already puts them in the friend zone. But also, there's a lot of women that, I've talked to in general, and they always say they like to begin as friends. And then the development is there, right? Uh, in my experience, when I talk to other men, that is not the case. But there are men that I've talked to that have the same ideology on that, the same consensus. Like, yeah, just be friends, and if something comes of it, then something comes of it. Uh, but I think the problem is that there is a variety of people that exist, right? There's a variety of people that exist where you meet someone, and instantly you have feelings, right? Like the meme, right? You catch feelings, right? Like you get a cold, you catch feelings. And I think the biggest problem that I've had with people is that when they try to like kind of like impose this almost like restraining order on your feelings, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I want us to be friends, but I can't have you having feelings, right? Uh, and I've always been ambivalent about that kind of concept because one, it's like, well, you can't really help that someone gets feelings, right? You can't really help that situation. That is a relatively helpless situation. You can't do anything about that. But I think the problem that I have, or what I find to be a problem, and people can disagree, but I find to be a problem is when this happens. It's not even the aspect of being friend zoned. It's the aspect of the individual knowing that you have feelings, and then them still wanting to remain and exist and find a space in your life. Uh, that has always been problematic. And the reason why I say that's problematic is because to some extent, they're actually ignoring or refusing to acknowledge that you have feelings. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like they want to implicitly enforce like a kind of this thing where you know when if you discover you have a friend, if you ever discover that you have a friend and they have feelings for you, right? I think a lot of people handle it the wrong way, um, because a lot of people kind of just tell the person, well, this friendship is never going to change, so you probably should just get over it, right? uh, I've always felt like that's the wrong way to tackle that kind of thing. It's it's never been it's never been a good way to handle that, I feel. Um, and so I think what what most people are not willing to give up is their position, right? They're not willing to give up the friendship for the sake of the other person. And when I say this, I mean that doesn't mean to date them. I mean to literally just leave, right? Just put some space between them, right? Put some space between the person, uh, because when we talk about feelings, one, the person who has feelings can't That's not really something that is decided or can be like told to like, get over, right? I think a lot of the way a lot of people handle feelings is kind of like, well, I'm not, it's either I'm not interested in you or I'm not ready to be in such a relationship. So I'm going to tell you to put your feelings aside, because, I'm just not ready. And that is, I have a problem with that kind of uh, handling of feelings. And because and a lot of people, and it's been seen, and I've seen it so many times, with myself and with other people in general, is that the position of the category always takes priority over the feelings, right? So just to give an example, so I guess if we began as friends, then um, and let's just say the other person started having feelings, then um, well, the friendship takes priority, so you need to just get over it on your own, um, and so on, right? But see, it's interesting because the person that doesn't have feelings for the other person, this looks as a sort of digression, right? Where you are digressing our category. You know what I mean? You've 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 gone backwards somehow, right? Where for the other person, it really has evolved, right? Began as a friendship, and it has evolved. And then it's like asking someone to kind of go back. Uh, and it's one of those things that it's strange because it's like, what the person is experiencing reminds me very close to what Deleuze and Guattari are saying, where um, the person not interested can look at it like you having feelings is breaking down this category, is breaking down this friendship, right? You are almost ruining our friendship because you have feelings for me, um, and we can't have that, right? Because I still want to be your friend. And see, that's very, and the reason, and again, I have problems with that because it's very authoritative, and it's very controlling to say that to somebody, to say that their feelings are, non-existent in this sense, right? Like their feelings are really ruining the category. Um, and so back to my story, right? Back to my story. So the girl, she reached out recently, right? Now, I don't know who's going to be watching this video, but there's several people that have reached out to me recently. So if you're one of those people, don't quickly assume that it's you. Because I have recently been reaching out to some people, and several people have been reaching out to me that I haven't talked to in a while. So um, if you are one of those people that have been recently reached out to me, it may or may not be you. I mean, I'm not saying names here. Uh, but anyways, I guess you will know if it's you if I develop this story further. So anyways, the girl expressed wanted to just reach out and clear the air with me to make sure everything's good, right? Everything is no hard feelings. This aspect of, I hope there's no hard feelings. Um, Now I don't. I'll be honest. I don't really understand this move. I don't understand this move because, uh, you know, it's kind of like, what kind of affirmation are you looking for exactly? Uh, at this point, it's a kind of question that only really leads to you making sure that you know uh, you feel good, like that nobody hates you, that nobody um, still feels bitter towards you. Um, and so, I mean, I won't lie. My immediate interpretation of this is, rather selfish. That I mean, that they're being selfish. That they just want to affirm that I've gotten over my feelings and that I'm not bitter. This, uh, this element is is just strange. If it's not that, then I don't know what it is. Actually, I don't know why you're reaching back. Uh, and you know, like because what is it? I recently, well, not recently, but I do have a there's a there's a good story. I remember with a friend with a girl that she's my friend, and she had recently broke up with her ex. Of course, this very common theme here with me. Um, but and this has nothing to do with my interest about her. This is a totally separate story. But I'm trying to make a point here. Anyways, this girl, she she came to me and she said, "I want to check up on my ex and make sure he's okay." And I said, "Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that at all." And the girl was like, "No, I really want to check up on my ex and just make sure he's doing okay and make sure I want him to have a good life." And I said, "Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that." And she said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, one, you don't want to do that because you're going to trigger uh, a kind of thinking that means that if you're reaching out, uh, that clearly you care for him, right? If you're reaching out in that manner, you care for him, and the first thought he's going to think is that maybe you want to get back together. And if you just, you know, and if you know that he's struggling with his feelings over you, there's no need for you to insert yourself randomly in his life while he's trying to still get over those feelings and be like, "Oh, hi, I just wanted to make sure that you're doing okay." Um, because one, there's several ways to interpret those things, and the common one is like, "Oh, I think she's interested again. She wants to get back together." Um, the other thing is, that the person might be like, "If you're not interested, then what are you doing here?" And the person will be like, "Well, I'm just here to, make sure you're good." Uh, and that's a very strange. That's a very strange thing to do. So and then what I'm trying to say is, literally, girl just did that to me today. Not that we had dated, but it was very clear that I had an interest, and I don't. It's very confusing her position. um, very confusing her position. Uh, I know this is something that her and I would probably argue about, but um, the argument would be this: she would try to save face and say that she always wanted to be friends, um, but the initial interaction that her and I had was not one that was on a friendship level like that. Um, it was definitely a very flirty interaction. It only stopped, actually. It only it actually the behavior changed only when um, her ex kind of got wanted to get back into the picture. That's when it changed, and then that's when she wanted to be friends. Um, but of course, that's always hard to. I feel like that's very difficult to admit that to somebody else. That like you're kind of getting interested in this other person, and all of a sudden your ex expresses interest in you again, and you're kind of like, ooh, um, you know, maybe I should just stay friends with this one guy while I try to sort my feelings out. Uh, and it's funny because like I thought I was crazy, right? 'Cause she would tell me like, oh, uh, that's not true. But actually, uh, I remember, what is it? I think after the whole thing just kind of stopped between her and I remember going through our Snapchats because there was like a couple that like Snapchat saved a couple of the conversations, or maybe I did. I don't remember. Um, and I looked through some of the conversations, and I was like, okay, yeah, I was right. Like these were definitely flirty interactions. I mean, kissy faces, not just from me, but from her, and and all these things. So I was like, it was like kissy faces and winky faces. You know what I mean? Um, and they were from her. So it's like I was like, I'm not crazy here. Like these are very explicit. Um, these are very explicit kind of known flirty symbols. Uh, so I was like, okay. So it definitely confirmed what I had initially thought was like, yeah, she was definitely interested in me in the beginning. But then her ex kind of wanted to get back into her life, and she was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Um, and the safe bet is like, well, you already know your ex, so and if you liked them a lot initially and stuff, then you always hope that he can get back to that, right? With another person, you just don't know, and so there's that gamble, uh, and that's kind of like me assessing that gamble. So it's uh, yeah, but anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think this aspect of where we try to shove feeling into a category, um, where it's like, well, yeah, you have these feelings, but we're still gonna be friends, right? And I still want to remain in your life. Uh, like again, I never understood why exactly that takes priority. Um, I never understood that. And I actually always find it selfish. And it's very interesting that the common perception is that the other person having feelings is the one being selfish, right? The other person having feelings is the one being selfish. And I've encountered this conversation all the time. It's always the one that has feelings for the other person, that is interpreted as being selfish, right? They're interpreted as the one that's ruining the friendship, ruining the you know the acquaintance, the formal structure of the initial relationship. I've always had a problem with that, because I just feel like that's not necessarily true, and I do feel like actually telling somebody who has feelings to kind of shove it in a category of space and saying that, well, I'm not going to change my position, but I want you to change your position, your feelings. I want you to change your feelings because we're still going to remain in this position. Um, again, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Um, I think it's perfectly fine that the person, has feelings, and if the friendship can no longer be maintained because of that, then that's just what it is. Uh, I think it is one, right, because it's obviously selfish to make somebody, and I think a lot of people would agree with this. It's obviously selfish to make somebody else feel guilty for not having feelings towards you, right? Like that just wouldn't be a nice way to go about it. It's like, oh, why don't you love me? Uh, and that would be selfish, absolutely. But I also think it's just as selfish to, basically tell somebody else to shove their feelings out of the door, because of the category that has already been defined, right? Um, and, and in my opinion, there's always been this weird space where it's like I really feel like actually, um, it's not really a friendship. You know what I mean? Like when people talk about, well, I just want to be friends first. Um, I feel like that's a really bullshit way of saying, like I'm just gonna kind of, I want to look more. I want to look more, and you know, it's basically like saying like, I imagine like myself at a market. The person's like, oh well, don't you want to buy this candle? It's it smells good. It's nice to have. And you're like, yeah, 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 that's good. But I just want to see what else we got. What else? What else is there other candles? I mean, again, I'm not against that. I don't think it's bad that you want to look. I just don't think that sometimes people should hide behind those reasons. I think somehow we're just very not honest about this. It's like if you're not interested, or I think a lot of people initially know from the beginning that they're never going to be interested, right? But the friendship category exists there, so they don't have to explicitly say that. Um, and I think there is some good reason to counter that, to counter my argument, because I've heard, what is it? I've heard of men handling it poorly. So so putting it in the friendship category is something that some of them handle better, and some of them don't handle it good either way. So it's difficult, but again, I'm not trying. The point of this video is not to talk about necessarily um, those exceptions and those kind of circumstances. What I'm trying to talk about is feelings versus category, where actually, in my opinion, the feeling itself can't really be categorized. Um, and I feel like this is a very nuanced way of trying to explain it, where the best way to put it is the feeling has exceeded the limitations of the category. That's it. The feelings have exceeded the limitations of the category. And the thing is, this also happens. This also happens with love. This also happens with love, because saying I love you or saying that we're together still doesn't quantify or still doesn't represent the feelings themselves, right? Still doesn't represent the feelings themselves. And there's plenty of examples to give around through social media about people that are together that I would say the feelings themselves don't even match up to with what the category is, right? Uh, like a lot of people believe that if you're together, that you probably have strong feelings for each other. But that is never the case because feelings are not a static thing. Uh, and so, and it's because feelings are not a static thing, but categories are, that I feel like we really do struggle. We really do struggle as human beings to express our feelings, right? We shove our feelings in categories. Um, you know, like like this is my girlfriend. This is and obviously that is implied that there's feelings. But again, those feelings can never be measured in any type of way. We just assume that it's enough. It's obviously you have feelings enough to want to be in a relationship with them. Um, and again, there's always counters, right? Is that necessarily true? And the counters are there's always cheating. Uh, you know, yeah, there's cheating. I think that's enough. I think that's a good enough example. Uh, but yeah, I guess really the main crux of this video is to say I think it's also just as selfish to make someone else kind of shove their feelings um, into a category that clearly doesn't belong there, right? I the way I would handle it, I don't, the way I would handle it if I found somebody that had feelings for me and I didn't feel the same way. I mean, for me, it's very simple. Like, okay, well, one, I don't feel the same way. Um, but because I don't feel the same way, I won't put you through this torture chamber by forcing you to be friends with me. You know what I mean? But so that means, but and this is where it gets strange because I have encountered some women that really, really want to be in my life. I don't understand that. They they're absolutely persistent in wanting to be in my life, and I'm like, I don't understand why you want to be in my life so much because one, I have feelings for you. Why don't you just like go away? If you don't feel the same way, then just like go away. Uh, and they don't like that. And then it's like they just want to be there. They just want to be around. But I'm like, uh, it's like they're kind of like, I guess the way they interpret it is like, oh, he's caught the flu. Like, let me just give him a little bit of space and he'll get over it, and then I'll come back and you know, everything's good. It's like, no, no, no. The source of the flu is literally you. You are the source. Like you are the source. So there's no curing that. It can only get cured, so to speak, is if I find somebody else. But until then, it's like, well, if you come back, it's like, yeah, I potentially can get it again, right? Get the flu. uh, and, and it always astonishes me. It's like, why are you so persistent to? At this point, I'm just ranting. By the way, not really trying to prove a philosophical point. He's like, why are you so persistent in wanting to be back in my life? I don't understand that concept. I don't understand that concept one bit. Um, and it always like astonishes me. Because for me, it's like, well, I mean, maybe it sounds rude. Maybe it sounds rude, but I've always took it like this. I have enough friends. I don't understand that. So I don't understand the persistence of at this point. And you know, and so, but yeah, there's plenty of women that have been in my life that never felt the same way towards me, but have been really persistent. Again, really, really adamant about just wanting to stay in my life. And I'm just like, okay, but why do you want to put me through this? And why, like, what is your point here? What is the purpose of this? Because it's like, one, I don't think the feelings are going to change, right? Um, and then so, and two, it's like, and those feelings are not going to change, but yet you still want to be in that person's life. Uh, and then yet somehow, right? Somehow it's the person that has feelings that's being selfish, right? Is the person that has feelings rather than uh, looking at it this way. Look at it this way. I mean, this is how I look at it. And like I explained before, if someone has feelings for me, right, and I can't reciprocate those, I give them I give them what they need, right? Meaning that I need to be out of their life in some fashion. Why? Because clearly me being there and me not being capable of reciprocating those feelings is very hurtful. It's literally just a walking wound, uh, reminding you that I will never reciprocate those feelings. And so I need to give you time to deal with those feelings. But at the same time, I also understand that there's probably never going to be a space to actually go back into that position, to resume as friends, you know, uh, and so on. So that's why I think it's actually selfish to uh, kind of impose or kind of like, because I really do feel like when you hear somebody having feelings for you and you can't reciprocate that, but you still choose to remain in the friendship. What I hear from that is actually you trying to is that actually uh, you're actually not acknowledging their feelings at all. You're not acknowledging it at all. The only thing that you're acknowledging that it is that they will get over it. Um, and again, I've always had a problem with that concept of like, you know, this is what it is, so you're gonna get over it, and I'm still gonna remain in your life. Uh, I mean, I always look at it like I'm like, no, actually, you don't have to be in my life. I'm like, no, you don't have to be. Um, and to me, it's like those aspects. It's like actually, if you really cared for me, then you wouldn't. Then you wouldn't. You would. Then you wouldn't. You shouldn't remain in close proximity anymore, right? If you really cared, you wouldn't remain in close proximity anymore, right? You would respect And I think that's the problem. Is like you're not actually respecting the person having feelings. Uh, I say all this because I really do feel that in our current dilemma, current situation of dating and weird positions of friendship and so on, that feelings do tend to take a back seat here. uh, because people like the comfort of the category, right? Well, we were friends, we stayed as friends, it's not mutual, so we're going to stay as friends. Um, but unfortunately, like in chess, if one person no longer refuses to move, or one person can no longer move, it's a draw, it's a stalemate, and you both lose. You both lose, and it's one of those things that if you can't reciprocate a feeling, and if you can't reciprocate the feeling, and the other person basically wants you to like leave because you can't reciprocate the feeling, but you want to remain because you still feel like you should be friends. This aspect is um, is a stalemate. And what really ends up happening is that you both should let it die. Um, you should give up the fact that you won't be able to remain as friends. And the other person that has feelings has to give up the fact that they will never reciprocate those feelings. And this is the aspect of exchange that I'm really trying to point out. It's that it's not a one sided exchange. The moment someone has feelings, there's going to be an exchange. That exchange is both people are going to have to give something up. The thing is, most people don't want to uh, give up that position for the exchange. So I think that's yeah. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say. uh, yeah, you can't shove feelings in a category. You can't shove feelings in a category. That's basically the summary. If you wanted a quick summary, that's basically what it is. All right, guys, take care.